Okay. Well, this is a very complex question, and I think I would go in the same, more or less the same direction as a previous speaker. I think there is a kind of my position on imperialism was provoked, and my thinking about it was provoked by a stereotype. Which I heard a lot in the Western countries, in the left milieus, a stereotype that says that this war started because Putin was scared by NATO or because he was humiliated by the West. In my opinion, it's quite the opposite. He started the war when NATO was weak, and he felt like everybody would let him do it, because it was always the case until now. He knows that the rich countries dependent on fossil fuels, on oil and gas, that these countries continued actually to trade with him for years when he was already killing Chechens or Syrians, and even when he started a war in Ukraine 8 years ago, nothing changed fundamentally. So yes, I agree with my previous speaker, and this is something that I want to empathize on every time I speak or write on this issue. The key word for me is impunity and economic cynicism of the global north, of the rich northern countries and Western countries. And I think when we talk about this war, we tend to overestimate the extent to which the behavior of Russian elites is motivated by real security concerns. Yes, their attack on Ukraine is basically an attempt to preserve the security, but it is not the security of Russia that they preserve. They are preserving the security of their political regime, and to ignore the difference between the two means that we forget that Russia is not Putin. And I want to say the same thing that the previous speaker, that it is Russia, it's Russian ordinary people, and their interests are exactly on the opposite to the interests of Putin and his mafia. So, I mean, if we disregard Russian internal politics, the relations between the ruling classes and society of this country, if we adopt this kind of a geopolitical perspective, which I had also before, we won't be able to understand anything about this war. And I think this war showed me and showed a lot of people around me that it is not so much about Ukraine, it's about Russian internal relationship between elites and people. It's about Russian predatory elites trying to preserve their regime, the regime that allowed them to plunder Russia in total impunity for years. And yeah, Putin's regime needed a real war because he thought it would stabilize his crumbling power. So for me, the changement in this perception and how to think about the imperialism is to be able to understand what are the internal reasons, what is happening inside of Russia. Because if we adopt just a geopolitical perspective, it is a very easy and lazy way to analyze the world, and it doesn't work.